Did you ever make little dioramas in school, like for art projects?
Oh yeah, I was so stoked.
It was so much fun.
So stoked when I got to make a diorama in school. The number of shoeboxes that I would save in hopes that I would get to make a diorama out of them, it was unreal.
This is a good shoebox. I'm gonna save it.
It was unreal. My mom, she's like, you're not gonna need all these shoeboxes. It was like getting to the point where I was like, I was getting too old for like an assignment to be a diorama, but I still had like a stack of shoeboxes waiting. She's like, listen, you're not going to need all of these. You need to get rid of some shoeboxes.
Your mom's like, you don't need it.
Your mom was like, okay. Like when you were in elementary school, yes. Later elementary school, they're not asking you to make dioramas as often. You don't need these.
As an 8th grader, you're not making a diorama.
I'm like leaving for college. And she's like, you don't need shoeboxes.
I'm just picturing a room full of shoeboxes.
It was like my closet. Like there was like the whole wall of my closet was just the shoeboxes, and then the shoes were out. The shoes weren't even in the shoe. Like they were empty and ready to go for a diorama emergency.
So prepared. I love it.
Have you ever wondered what it's like to perform an autopsy?
Ever wanted to know how accurate your favorite crime drama is?
If you're brave enough,
join us inside the morgue.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Inside the Morgue. We're your favorite pathology duo and favorite podcast hosts, Jess and Alice. We're back with another mini episode. This is a mini, because we're talking about mini murder dioramas.
Little ones.
Which we had mentioned in a previous episode, and we said we were going to do a mini on it, so we had kept our word. So you're welcome, because now you get to experience all of this with us.
You were all asking for it.
I'm looking at you. So before we get started, Dylan, where can the people find you?
You can find me by emailing me, dylan@youngjunk.com. If you are interested in starting a podcast or taking your podcast to the next level, do it with us. It's the best option in the Philadelphia area. Or you can also do it remotely like Miss Jess is, as you can see, or a hybrid version of that because Alice is here in studio. We
got options.
Yeah, we got options. So hit me up and we'll figure it out.
Yeah. Every time we ask you where people can find you, my intrusive thoughts always creep in, and I'm like, what if he says his address? What if he just says it? Like, you can find me here.
Find me here. This is where I sleep.
Come find me.
Yeah.
I dare you.
All right. So let's get into our miniature mini. So picture it. A woman's body lies near a refrigerator. Around her, there's typical kitchen items: a bowl, a rolling pin, a table, a cake pulled right out of the oven, an ironing board, and an iron. So what happened to her? Was it an accident? Was it a suicide? Did she drop dead of natural causes? Or is it murder? This scene is not from real life, but inspired by it. It is from one of 19 miniature dioramas by Frances Glessner Lee, who lived from 1878 until 1962. And she was the first female police captain in the U.S. who is known as the mother of forensic science. We love that for her.
I love her already.
Yeah. The dioramas are featured in an exhibition called Murder is Her Hobby, Frances Glessner Lee, and the Nutshell Studies of Unexplained Death, on view from October 20th through January 28th, 2018 at the Smithsonian American Art Museum's Renwick Gallery. They were also, someone we know that we work with saw them somewhere else. I think he went to...
I don't know where he saw them.
He went to a name conference. I want to say it was in Texas, because he also...
I think you're right.
He also saw where JFK was assassinated.
Yeah.
Fort Worth?
He went to Houston.
Fort Worth, I think.
I don't know.
I don't know Texas.
I've been to San Antonio, and yeah.
I've never been to Texas.
You don't have to. There's nothing there.
But what if these dioramas are there? I want to see these. I want to see the nutshells.
I do. That's like another dream of mine. Besides going to the body farm, I want to see these.
Yeah. I go to the body farm so bad. But yeah, I really, really want to see these. So... Lee designed them so investigators could, quote, find the truth in a nutshell. How cute. This is the first time the complete nutshell collection was featured on display. 18 were on loan from Harvard Medical School through the Maryland office of the chief medical examiner. And they are reunited with the, quote, lost nutshell on loan from the Society of the Protection of New Hampshire Forests, courtesy of the Bethlehem Heritage Society. So they were on display at the Smithsonian in 2018. And that was like the first time in a while that they had all been in one location, I think. And yeah, I want to see them all so bad. I've seen, obviously, pictures of them.
The pictures are so cool, like just looking at them themselves.
Just like the details. And I love I love little arts and crafts, and I love putting things together. And so it's one of my favorite.
Did you ever make little dioramas in school? Like for art projects?
I was so stoked.
It was so much fun.
So stoked when I got to make a diorama in school. The number of shoeboxes that I would save in hopes that I would get to make a diorama out of them. It was unreal.
This is a good shoebox. I'm going to save it.
It was unreal. My mom, she's like, you're not going to need all these shoeboxes. It was like getting to the point where I was like, I was getting too old for like an assignment to be a diorama, but I still had like a stack of shoeboxes waiting. She's like, listen, you're not going to need all of these. You need to get rid of some shoeboxes. But yeah, it's one of my favorite things when art and science combines, especially forensic science. So like I've talked about, I love when people do busts of people based off of their skeletal features and what they know about their background. And I love stuff like this. I love when people can combine their two passions in this way. And it's just, I want to see it so
Forensics
bad.
and art is like the way of my heart.
Mm-hmm.
It's just all so cool. I love it. I have such like a soft spot in my heart for like anything involving that.
Yeah. I don't know if I've talked about this on the podcast before, but when I was in undergrad, so I like art, I like drawing, I like painting, and I also enjoy science, in case you didn't know. And I was a bio major in college, but I was taking a few like art history classes. And I was having a rough year my junior year. I had like an art teacher tell me that I was too scientific to do art. And then I was in a science class. I was in a physics class, and somebody saw me like doodling, and my TA told me that I should stop studying science and just be an artist. And I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know where I belong. And I was talking to my dad about it. I was like venting to him about it. And he's like, listen, you're just a Renaissance woman. You have all these different interests. Like, you're not just in one. He's like, whatever happened to like being a Renaissance man or a Renaissance woman? Like, you're not supposed to just be good at one specific thing. Like, you're good at a few different things. And I texted him last year when you and I went to postmortem photography training, because one of the art forms that I love doing is photography. And he's the one who bought me my first camera and really helped me learn how to use it. And so I texted him, I was like, Dad, I'm getting to combine my things. Like, I don't know if you remember in college, you told me this thing about like still like finding my love of art and science in one thing. And he's like, oh my God, yeah, I remember that conversation so well. And I'm like so proud of you that you're following it. And like, and I was like, yeah. And it's not like art to the like same kind of art as this, but it was just like, it was one of my arts that I like to do is photography, and I'm finding a way to use it and be good at it in my scientific field. And it's, yeah. So don't listen to the haters is the summary of that, everybody.
I have a similar story when I started off as a criminal justice major, and then I quickly learned that was not the major for me. And I wanted to switch to forensic bio. And I remember I was in my friend's dorm. I was on the top bunk of her bunk bed, and I had called my dad, and I was like, Dad, I was like literally sobbing, like crying on the phone to him. And I was like, Dad, like, I don't know what to do. Like, this just doesn't feel like my path anymore. And like, I feel like I want to go more of the science and like forensics route. And he was like, you have to listen to your heart, because you know what's best for you.
Yeah.
And he gave me like the greatest dad speech over the phone. And then the next day I switched my major.
Dad speeches are the best. Love a dad speech. look at our dads.
Go you. Go Steve. Go Brian.
Go Steven and Brian. I love it.
Yeah. All right, back to the nutshells. So the nutshells bring together craft and science thanks to Lee's background as a talented artist and criminologist.
See?
Born in Chicago,
Combined.
She can do both.
She can do everything.
She's Barbie.
Like Barbie, yes.
Born
Barbie is the original Renaissance woman.
So true, though. She was the heiress to the international harvester manufacturing fortune. She had an avid interest in mysteries and medical texts and was inspired by Sherlock Holmes, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's fictional detective who relied on his powers of observation and logic. Wow. That ties into our previous episode where we talked all about Sherlock.
Yeah, you should check it out if you haven't.
So Lee married when she was 19 and she had 3 children, and then after her marriage dissolved, she then began to pursue her passions. She met George Burgess Margrath in 1898, and Margrath studied medicine at Harvard and later became a medical examiner, where he would discuss with Lee his concerns about investigators' poor training and how they would overlook or contaminate evidence at crime scenes. And after receiving her inheritance, Lee began working in a New Hampshire police department and became a police captain. In 1943, she began designing her nutshells. So her nutshells are dollhouse-sized dioramas drawn from real-life crime scenes, but because she didn't want to give away all of the details from the actual case records, she often embellished the dioramas, taking cues from her surroundings. So they're not literal, but they are composites of real crime cases intended to train police and to hone their powers of observation and deduction. They are intricately detailed and highly accurate, with each element potentially holding a clue. Lee hired Ralph Moser, a carpenter, to help build the dioramas. Moser would build the rooms and most of the furniture and doors, and Lee was extremely, she was like really good at putting all of the elements together of the nutshells, and it had this like really realistic feel to it, and compared to like the originals.
One of my favorite things too, which is why I think I love all of this, is I get this a lot on like TikTok or Instagram or whatever, is like people making mini versions of like normal things.
You do?
Yeah.
That's not on my page.
You've never seen like people like
I'm not
making
on that side.
Like, I'm gonna start sending you stuff and then you'll be on that side with me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, just like the tiny kitchen stuff. Have you seen any of the tiny kitchen stuff? People like have a little tiny kitchen and they make actual tiny food in a little tiny kitchen.
Funny story, I used to do that when my mom was cooking or like baking. I had like all of like my Polly Pocket or like Barbie like little like bowls and like whisks or whatever, and I would make the mini versions with my mom.
That's actually adorable. That is precious.
I vividly remember like sitting across on the other side of the island where like I was doing my little stuff and she was like actually making like dinner for us.
That's incredible. You were doing your part too. That was important. You were feeding Polly Pocket that week. Polly Pocket ate
She
that
had
week
dinner for
because
days.
she ate because of you. Yeah, I had all the little mini, I had like a mini Barbie kitchen that I was obsessed with. And I'm really happy now because it got passed down to my niece. And I went to go visit them one week, my niece and my nephew, and they both were like, do you want to play with our Barbie kitchen? And I was like, yeah, I do. And I like went over, we were playing, and I was like, guys, this used to be mine. And like the little like I had like a little popcorn popper machine that like you spun it around and like popped out a little mini slushy thing. I was obsessed with my little, like, I don't know, I just love the little minis of everything. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's like a niche interest of mine. So like I just really, really want to see. Like the fact that she found a carpenter to make little tiny doors,
little tiny houses,
little tiny chairs. Like, like I want to see that so bad. So Lee also crafted other miniature items, including murder weapons and the bodies, taking great pains to display and present the evidence as true to life as she could. She would hand knit tiny stockings with straight pins, and she even addressed tiny little letters with like a single,
like so detailed,
a single hairbrush, which is so hard to do. Like, oh my God. She used real tobacco for the mini cigarettes. Blood spatter was carefully painted, and the discoloration of corpses, depending on their state of decomposition, was painted to painstaking detail. And the details mattered because they could give hint to a type of motive. And she wanted these to be used as a training tool for police officers who were going, or police officers or other death investigators that were going into scenes, so that they wouldn't contaminate a crime scene and they would know what to look for. So a nutshell took about 3 months to complete and costly $3,000 to $6,000 to make back then. In today's money, that is $40K to $80K. Each one of these things. And she did 19 of them.
Wow.
Yeah. So Lee's nutshells are still learning tools for today's investigators in training. So the solutions are not given in the exhibition. So visitors at the Renwick Gallery, where they were displayed, but I'm sure you can go see them somewhere else now, can match wits with detectives and channel your inner Sherlock Holmes. So especially when the case is particularly a tough nut to crack. Get it? That was from the article that we found this on. I didn't come up with that on my own. That was from the Insider article that we'll link.
I need to find like where they're on display right now, and we need to plan a trip to go find them.
Yes, please. This is definitely a bucket list item for me. But because when I was reading that it was $3,000 to $6,000, I was like, that's pretty expensive. But that in today's money, that's like,
I couldn't imagine somebody wanting to do this, and you're not really getting anything out of it other than just like, here, I'm gonna donate this.
yeah, it's gonna be
You
a training
guys.
tool now. Like, I'm just so $40K to $80K. That's $80K. I went to a state school, so that is my entire college tuition. That is 80.
She
for
played around
one.
with little dioramas.
For one diorama. That's how much detail was put into these. So I'm not saying that it's not worth the money. It's just like how good these are. Like,
Yeah,
how much detail and craft went into this. Like, she was paying the best
it's also
carpenters.
crazy. These were made in, God, what year? 1940s.
1943 is when she
1930s.
started them. Yeah.
And that they have held up in how detailed and how well she executed everything, that like you can still learn from them today.
I mean, they better hold up. They were $80K. They better be good. This is not a shoebox Alice special. This is a good diorama.
What shoes were you getting that and you're like, I need to get this shoebox?
Well, I wouldn't buy shoes for the shoebox. I would just like, whenever I got a new pair of shoes, I like would never throw the shoebox away. I would just keep it because I'd be like, I'm gonna need this for a diorama one day.
Your mom's like, you don't need it.
My mom was like, okay. Like when you were in elementary school, yes, but you're like in later elementary school, they're not asking you to make dioramas as often. You don't need these anymore.
As an 8th grader, you're not making a diorama.
Literally. I'm like leaving for college, and she's like, you don't need shoeboxes.
I'm just picturing a room full of shoeboxes.
It was like my closet. Like there was like the whole wall of my closet was just the shoeboxes, and then the shoes were out. The shoes weren't even in the shoe. Like they were empty and ready to go for a diorama emergency.
So prepared. I love it.
I was also really lucky growing up because my mom was an elementary school teacher. So if I ever had like a last minute school project emergency where I needed craft supplies, she always had it. Like I was always that kid who's like, hey, I have a poster due. And she's like, when is it due? And I'm like, tomorrow. And she's like, and she would always remind me, she's like, you're so lucky I'm a teacher because I have all this stuff already.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she'd always help me out. She was the best. But I was always ready for the diorama. I was like, I got the boxes for that. I just need the glue and the markers. Let's go. Did you do dioramas in school?
Yeah, not like a lot.
You did orange shoeboxes?
I probably did like just like a handful of them. I remember one that we did. God, maybe I was like 3rd or 4th grade-ish. Maybe a little younger, like 2nd. No, maybe 3rd or 4th grade sounds right. And we did it. And I remember like using, I was really into Polly Pockets at that time too. So I had like mini furniture or whatever. Because I wasn't like that into Barbies because neither was my sister. So we didn't really have them. We had more like Bratz and Polly Pockets and like their objects that they came with. So I used a lot of like the little mini Polly Pocket stuff because I was like, wow, this is great because it's already mini.
This is perfect size. I would do the thing.
I would like hot glue it and my mom would be like, God, we're ruining this.
Your mom is stressing in the corner like, oh my God.
Karen can't handle the stress.
I would do the thing with if I had to use a table, I would use the thing from like takeout pizza. That's like in the middle of the pizza, the little
That's
circular
so
thing.
smart.
I would use that as like a little table.
My dad had built me and my sister bookshelves to like each have in our room. And I remember I cleared out like one full shelf on the top and I made mini rooms all out of like paper and cardboard. And I would like play with my Polly Pockets up there when I was little.
That's so
And
creative.
my niece now, she's like 10 or so. She's kind of doing the same thing. And I was like, oh my God, she's so artsy.
I love that. I love that so much. It's really creative. You're making little rooms out of the shelves. That's awesome. Yeah, I was just there hoarding shoeboxes, but
You're like, this is a good shoebox.
I'm gonna go home. My parents are in the process of like selling my childhood home. I'm gonna go home one of these weekends to like clean out my room, and it's just gonna be shoeboxes. If I do find a ton of empty shoeboxes, I will send you a picture. I'll make you a diorama.
Please.
What would it be of?
Me on my wedding day.
I was gonna say like a really bad version of a nutshell. Like I try my best to like put together like a crime scene. It's just not good. I'm using like toothpicks and absolutely no skill for it.
Little pizza tables.
Yeah, little pizza tables. Some Polly Pocket stuff thrown in there for flair.
Yeah.
No, but a wedding
That's
diorama is much
color.
cuter. All right, so that concludes our mini episode. We hope you enjoyed it. If you guys have seen the nutshells in person, please let us know. Let us know where you saw them and what your experience was like, what your favorite one was. Or if you have any other topics that you want us to talk about, any other mini topics, doesn't have to be something small, but just something that we can cover in a shorter amount of time. Let us know. And yeah, we hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we enjoyed looking into it.
Yeah.
And we will check you out next time for a brand new dissection.
Bye.
Bye.
Young John!